help. And actually, there is one more thing, but I'll save that. But yeah, so there's actually a few things, stuff that I even forgot about. But with that said, we're going to get right into it. So one of the top stories, and then this has been a theme for a little while, is 529 plans have been an interesting focus. So if you know me, you know that 529 plans is a very common strategy that I employ with couples, especially in Pennsylvania. And again, I'm just going to preface this with a quick, everything I say is going to have a quick disclosure. It has to. And you'll see why. You'll see why, because there's actually a story that occurred this week that's very important to go over, and you'll see why I'm so paranoid about some of this stuff. But this does not apply to everybody, but for clients that I do sit down and see that it applies to, 529 accounts in the state of Pennsylvania offer a state income tax deduction. So you're able, if you fund a 529, you're able to take that to your accountant, and he's able to mark down some income off of your state income taxes. Always consult a tax professional before employing any of these strategies. But what's also special about Pennsylvania is they honor the Virginia 529 plan. And for those of you who are unaware of what the Virginia 529 is, you can utilize, so most 529 plans are done state specific. So I shouldn't say most, but there's a lot of cases where, the 529 only applies to that state. So if you fund, and this I don't know for certain, but I'm from Rhode Island, so I'm just going to use them. If you fund a Rhode Island 529 plan, actually I think specifically Rhode Island's 529 allows you to go to Connecticut and Massachusetts also. So I need to double check that, but I believe that that's true. That if you fund a 529 plan, you're eligible to enroll or utilize the funds for, Rhode Island universities and colleges and higher education. Well, all education actually, but you're able to use it for colleges and universities in Connecticut and Massachusetts as well. Anyways, Virginia allows you to go to any college in the country, as far as I'm aware right now. So you can go to any college and utilize those 529 accounts, and that's great. But not every state honors the income tax deduction for that. However, if you're a Pennsylvania resident, Pennsylvania does honor that. So you can utilize a 529 account in a Virginia 529 account in Pennsylvania, and they'll still honor the state income tax deduction. So that's very important to know. What's also important to know is some of the progress that's been made in these 529 accounts. So my speculation, and I bet I could probably look into this more and find some real substantial facts for it, but colleges have become increasingly expensive, not inexpensive, they've become more expensive. 529, people are dropping out of college at, fairly high rates, and people are getting generally constricted by the 529 accounts, and they oftentimes don't think that a 529 is a good strategy for them, because what if their kid doesn't go to college? These funds are going to be locked up. There's going to be certain penalties, or you're going to get hit with just unnecessary cost to capital if you invest in a 529 and your child doesn't go to college, right? Or higher education for that matter. That said, I believe it was the Secure Act 2.0 put in some stipulations on how you can utilize a 529 and convert it into a Roth IRA. Now, currently I believe the maximum limit, lifetime limit to that is $35,000 total, and you can only convert, right now, $7,500 a year, but you can only convert up to the yearly limit for your IRA accounts, specifically the Roth IRA. So, what that means, the good news is the cost basis increases, right? So, it's not like you're going to be paying taxes on it anyways, but it's not like that conversion. So when you convert from, when you convert from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, you'll have to pay some taxes on that conversion, and it'll be counted towards your income at the end of the year. However, when you convert from a 529 to a Roth IRA, you actually get a step up in cost basis, which means that you're not going to pay taxes on that conversion, which is extremely important. Now, there is a bottleneck at $35,000 total lifetime limit. Now, and this is speculation, this isn't fact, but I would expect with the progressive push in modifying the 529 account and its capabilities and conversions, we're likely going to see that lifetime limit increase, just like we're seeing the yearly limit increase on IRA, traditional IRA and Roth IRA contributions, right? So, just be aware of that. I wouldn't say to bank on it or plan on it because anything can happen, but it's just something to note that, yeah, that is absolutely a possibility that this lifetime limit can increase. And so in the Secure Act 2.0, they introduced this conversion method so that, people like me, when I'm sitting down with clients, I can say, look, like a 529 is a feasible option. I don't want to use the word waste, but it's, after the Secure Act 2.0, it's not going to be as restrictive as you would originally think. And that's important because, every little thing counts. If we can get some money taken off of your state income taxes, then that's great. That's exactly what we want, right? So, it's something to think about. It's something to utilize. It's in a lot of my plans. And the good news is one of the more recent developments is there's a push right now in our government to not only permit these same rollovers into conversions into the Roth IRA, but they're going to allow some of these funds to be utilized for home buying and home purchases. And you've always had that ability in IRA accounts. I believe the last limit I know was $10,000, and that may or may not be a current and accurate figure. But you could always use, or not always, but at least within the last 3 years, I know for a fact you could use $10,000 from traditional or a Roth IRA. It wouldn't be counted as an early distribution. You could take that money out and use it for the first purchase of a primary home. So it has to be the first purchase. It would have to be a primary home, but you could utilize that money. And where we sit right now, this really isn't like a big takeaway. Like it's good to see that there's going to be some flexibility and that we're opening up, a new frontier and having a flexible account that gives us certain tax advantages, because for the longest time we really only had, the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA, and it was like you can't access this money until you're 59 and a half. And then you have your UTMA and UGMA, which had very specific stipulations for the beneficiary. But now the 529 is becoming versatile because we can put the 529 in for a child, and its primary purpose and its principal purpose in the beginning is for college. Then we said, all right, well, what happens if they have too much money in that account? Now we can convert that money into a Roth IRA, which is great. Now that gives us versatility. And now we're talking about putting it into home buying and giving us a new advantage there. And really what this is turning into a great multi-tool to set your child, and there's varying degrees of success, and success isn't always guaranteed, but this is becoming a multi-tool that could lead to a great launching platform for children in early adulthood. So, always speak with a financial professional first. I have my own strategies for 529 accounts. Other financial professionals have theirs, and this is a running theme, but everybody should know when you're working with somebody, just because they do something different doesn't mean it's wrong. But I do believe a 529 is almost a staple to have, especially if you have children. But even if you don't, if you have nephews and nieces, it's a good way you can open up a 529 for them, and you can contribute to that. It's really a great tool for the older generation to give back to the younger generation. Great is subjective, so don't quote me. I find it to be a great tool.